In today's video tutorial, we're going to have a look at creating a single level maze game in GameMaker Studio, and it's going to incorporate the use of a force field. So basically we've got these little birds flying around, and if we run into them we end up dying and the level will restart. What we want to happen though is when we run over this force field, we're going to change our character so that he becomes unstoppable. Now that force field is only going to last about 5 seconds before it wears off, but it should be enough time to get to the finish line and win the game. Okay, so it's a fairly simple game, but I just want to show you how to use force fields. Okay, so what we're going to need to do to begin with today is go into the force fields folder and copy all the resources you're going to need. So there's a few sprites and sounds there, as well as a background. So I'm going to press Control C to copy those, and I'm just going to pop into my documents folder. Whoops, and before I copy them in, I'll have to make a new project in GameMaker Studio. So open up GameMaker Studio first, make a new project, save it somewhere appropriate, so that's in my documents folder in Year 10 IPR, and I'm going to give it the name Force Field, and click on Create. Alright, so that will set up my game in GameMaker Studio, and I can now go back over to my account here. This is my Force Field folder. I'm just going to make a new folder called Resources, and I'm going to press Control V to paste in all those resources that I just copied. So that's all the sprites, background, and the few sounds. Okay, so we're ready to get started here in GameMaker. What we're going to do to begin with is bring in all the sprites. So click the red Pac-Man button at the top, and like usual, start loading in your sprites. Okay, I shouldn't have to show you how to do this. Just remember, on some of these sprites there is a background on them, so make sure you remove the background from those sprites. So I'll call this one SPR underscore bird left. I'll make the next sprite, load it in. We've got bird right coming in next, so we'll call it SPR underscore bird right. Next sprite is the wall, so SPR underscore wall. Loading in the next sprite, we'll get the main character, which is the boy, so SPR underscore boy. Still going, but a couple more there we need to bring in. We've got the exit sign, so SPR underscore exit. And our last sprite today is the gem. So let's write SPR underscore gem. Now for our force field, we're going to have to create that ourselves. So we're going to make a new sprite and call it SPR underscore force field. And we're going to click edit sprite so we can make our own. To make your own sprite, you just press that new or blank piece of paper at the top there. Make sure it's 32 by 32 and click OK. Once that transparent box comes up, double click on it and scroll up on your mouse to zoom in a bit. Now the teleport today is going to be quite simple. Just grab the force field is going to be quite simple. Grab your circle tool from your tools. You want to have, I think it is dark blue for your left color, light blue for your right color, and as you drag across the page there, you should get a circle with a dark blue outline and a light blue inside. That's basically all I want the force field to look like. So I'll press the green tick at the top of the page, press the green tick again. We've got our force field made, so press OK. Now there's one last sprite we need to make, and it's going to be the object boy with a force field over the top of him. So what I'm going to do is right click on sprite boy there and duplicate him. And I'm going to give him a different name. I'll call him SPR underscore boy force field. And then I'm going to click edit sprite. We're just going to change how it looks a little bit. So double click on the little boy, scroll up to zoom in. And what we're going to do is draw a circle with the same colors. So left is dark blue, right is light blue. And draw a circle over the top of him. But before we do that, we're just going to change the opacity of that circle to about 100. Okay, that's going to make that circle a little bit transparent as we draw it over the top of him, so we can still see the boy, but he's now got a force field over the top of him. So press the green tick once you've done that, press the green tick again, and click OK, and you've got your boy with a force field over the top of him now in your sprite list. That's all the sprites we're going to be using for this game, so let's keep kicking on and we'll turn those sprites into objects now. So first one's OBJ, bird left. Second object is going to be the bird right, so call it obj underscore bird right. Making the next object, we've got the wall, so obj underscore wall. Now don't forget the wall has to be solid. Okay, we don't want our player or our birds running through that wall. Once we've got the wall in, we'll bring in the boy, so obj underscore boy. After that, we've got our force field boy, so obj underscore force field boy. Making the next object, we've got the exit sign, so obj underscore exit. Next object is the gem, so we'll call that obj underscore gem. And the final object we've got is a force field here, so obj underscore force field. Now we do need to make a score panel very quickly for this game as well. It's an object with no sprite attached to it, so let's just create a blank object. It'll be called obj underscore score. Okay, and there's no sprite that goes with that score panel. We'll draw the score ourselves. So that's all our objects brought into the game now. Let's just bring in the other little bits and pieces. We've got a couple of sounds there that we need to bring in, so let's load in the sounds. Looks like we've got 4 of them. The first one is SND exit. The next sound we're going to bring in is the sound of the force field, so SND underscore force field. Loading in the next sound, we've got the gem, so call that SND underscore gem. And the final sound we're going to bring in is the ow sound, so that's when he gets hit by a bird. We'll play that ow sound. Okay, so we've got 4 sounds now in our panels on the left hand side. We've got a background to bring in, so click the background button at the top and create yourself the background. It's a simple one, just a bunch of creamy coloured tiles. Give it the name BG underscore tiles and click OK. So that's all our sprites, sounds, backgrounds and objects brought in. We can now start designing our first room. And it's going to be our only room or level. So up the top, press that white box with the blue border to create a level. We'll give the name of this level level 1. The width's going to be 640 by 480 for the height. Now go to the background tab next. About halfway down you'll see that no background piece of writing. Change that by clicking on it and choosing BG tiles, and you can see that we've got a tiled background now. The other thing we need to do now is design it, so go to your objects and quickly design yourself a simple maze game. So I'm going to start with the wall. Remember to hold Control and Shift and just click and drag around the page to do that quickly. If you make a mistake, just right click on those blocks, they'll disappear. Somewhere in the middle here I'm just going to add in a little bit of a square shape here. This is where the finish line is going to go. A little bit out of whack, but should be right. Put the finish line in here somewhere. Have some birds flying around inside of there just to make it a little bit harder for the person to get to the finish line. I might even put the finish line down a bit lower so it actually does make it quite hard to get to. We'll put in some gems around the outside of that room. Might even put some inside if we want to collect those. What else do we need? We need the object boy starting in the left hand corner. We might want to put a force field just up here near the entrance. And we'll probably put some more birds flying around, so maybe one there, one there. Put a couple over this side. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. I think that's enough birds. Was there anything else we need to put in? We've got everything, I think, by the looks of it. Oh, just the score panel. Don't forget to put the score panel up in that top left hand corner. We'll have the score sitting up there when we code it in. Okay, so that's our first level. Pretty simple. Just make sure you've got that, what do you call it, force field close to the exit sign, because it only lasts for about 5 seconds. So you want to have our player get to that exit sign while that force field is still around them. Okay, so press the green tick once you have created your level, and if this box comes up, just click on the yes. Alrighty, so we are ready now to start programming our game. We'll start with the simple stuff first. We'll start with these birds. So open up Object Bird Left. We're going to add an event in, and it's going to be a create event. So when this bird is first created, or when it first appears in the level, we want to tell it to move. So it can move by itself. So hit those bunch of red arrows. Since this is the left facing bird, we're going to move it to the left, and its speed can be about 4. That's the same speed we're going to move at. Okay. Now the other thing we want to do, I'll just bring up the level 1 again. When our bird facing to the left, for example this one, hits the wall, we want him to turn around and fly back the other way. Okay. So what we're going to have to do is change that sprite into the bird that is facing to the right. Okay, so what we do is we add in an event, and it's a collision with the wall. So when the bird facing to the left collides with the wall, there's 2 things we want to do. The first one is we need to reverse his horizontal direction, so he goes back the other way. So just click OK on that. After we reverse the direction and the bird starts heading back the other way, we also want to change it to the bird facing the other way. So in the main 1 tab, we select this little blue and red ball here, which is the change instance option, and we change itself. So the left bird, we're going to change it and change it into the other bird, which is facing the other way. And yes, we want to perform those events. Click OK. That's all we need on the left bird. Alright, so we'll click OK and do something very similar for the right bird now. So we'll start with the create event. When this right bird is first created, remember to make it move to the right at speed 4 and click OK. Okay, so that's an easy one. The next one is a collision with the wall. So when the bird facing the right collides with the wall, the first thing to do is turn it around and make it go back the other way by reversing its horizontal direction. Once it's reversed its direction, we want it to change into the other bird so it's facing to the left. So that's this little blue and red ball again here, which is the change instance action. Alright, so just change itself into Object Bird Left, and yes, we do want to perform those events. Click OK, and that's our birds done. Okay, so if you want to test your game, the first compile usually takes a little while. Okay, it takes a little bit longer than the future compiles that you'll do. But we'll give it a second. We'll just make sure that our birds are moving around and bouncing off the walls and changing their direction when they hit that wall. Okay, so here we go. And it looks good. Have a look at this one here on the left. You can see every time it hits the wall, it's changing its direction. Awesome. So let's keep going. Next thing we're going to do, we might code up these green gems. Okay, we want to be able to collect those. So when our little man runs into the gems, we need to get some points and make that gem disappear. So we'll add in an event, and it will be a collision with the object boy. So when our little boy hits the gem, first thing we want to do is play a sound. Okay, and that sound will be the gem sound. Loop will be set to false. Okay, after we play the sound, we're going to give ourselves a score. So let's go to the score tab now. Hit the first bunch of yellow dots up the top. Give yourself 10 points and make it relative. Click OK to that. Finally, we want the gem to disappear once we run over it. So in the main 1 tab, hit that little recycle bin and then click OK. They're the 3 things that we need to do to make our little boy pick up a gem. Now we also want to have the boy inside the force field be able to do the exact same things. So instead of writing all these in again, these actions, what we can do is just duplicate this event. So what we do is right click our mouse on Object Boy and just go Duplicate Event. And this time it'll be a collision with the force field boy. As soon as you click that, you can see the same actions are now on the force field boy. So when our little force field boy hits a gem, it'll play the sound, it'll get 10 points, and it will make the gem disappear. So exactly the same as the collision event with the normal boy. Alrighty, so that's got our gems sorted out. So we'll click OK on that. What else do we need to do? We also need to put a score panel in. That's a really quick one. So if we just look at level 1, I want the score to go up here in this top left corner. And if you look at the X and the Y values, when I hover over that corner, it's x equals 32 and y equals 32. So that's where we want our score to go. Okay, so open up object score by double clicking on it. We're going to add in an event, and it's going to be a draw event. Okay, so just select draw. First of all, heading right down the bottom to the draw tab, we're going to click this color palette and pick a color for our score panel. Okay, it's basically a text color. So we've got a light tiled background, so I think a dark color on top of that will look good. So black or dark purple or brown will probably look good. I'm just going to select black for this one. Once we've selected our color, we simply need to draw the score. So go to the score tab, select this third bunch of little yellow dots. It's called draw score, and make the x and y value 32 and 32. That way it positions the score up in the top left hand corner. We'll click OK. That's all we need to do for the score, so click OK on that. There's no point testing it yet because we can't collect any gems, so we can't see our score go up. So what we're going to have to do is make our little object boy move. Okay, so let's add in some events. On the object boy, we'll add the keyboard events, and we'll start from the top. We'll do a left keyboard event. What we're going to do is go to the control tab, right click on that grid, and make it 32 by 32. We're just going to check that our little guy is inside the grid. If he is, then we're going to hit that bunch of red arrows in the move tab. As we're pressing the left key, we want him to move to the left at speed 4. We'll click OK. Now we're going to add in another event now. It's a keyboard event for the right key. We're going to do the same thing. In the control tab, select that check grid option first to make it 32 by 32, and then move him to the right at speed 4. Okay, we'll add in the next event, which is very similar. It's going to be the up key. First of all, check the grid is 32 and 32. Move him up at speed 4. The last arrow key we're going to work with here is the down key. First of all, check the grid is 32 and 32. In the move tab, move him down at speed 4 and click OK. Now the last event we want to add for the keyboard is the no key event. So when we're pressing no keys at all, we want our little guy to stop moving. So you still need to check the grid. So in the control tab, do your 32 by 32 grid check. Then in the move tab, you hit that center button there, which stops him from moving. And leaving the speed at 0 will also help. So leave the speed at 0, hit that middle square and click OK. And that stops him moving. Alright. It's still going. We're going to add in another event now when he hits the wall. So a collision between the boy and the wall. We want to do the same thing. Let's stop moving. So in the control tab, select your check grid option and make it 32 by 32. Then in your move tab, select the red arrows at the start, tell it to stop moving, and speed will be 0. That should be enough now to test our game out. It's not finished by any means, but we should be able to move our little character around and at least collect a few gems. Okay, so let's have a look. He moves left, he moves right, he moves up, he moves down. Okay, he doesn't die when he hits the birds yet. He does collect the gems, and you can see in the top left hand corner our score is going up as well. So that's all good. We can run over the force field, but it does nothing. We can go down to the exit sign. When we collide with that, it does nothing. So there's still a little bit of code to go. So still on object boy here, we're going to add in a collision with the exit sign next, so we can finish our game. When we collide with the exit sign, there's a few things we want to do. In the main 1 tab, we want to play a sound first of all, and that sound is the first one there, sound exit. Loop will be set to false. After we play a sound to show that we finished the game, we're going to put a little message up to congratulate our player on finishing. So in the main 2 tab, select that little speech bubble. Whoops. And I'm just going to write congratulations, you win. Click OK. That's our message that will be displayed when they finish the game. And finally, still in the main 2 tab, that little red shutdown button there will end the game. Okay, so as soon as they're finished, we might as well close the game. They probably won't want to play it again. Okay, so that's all good. Got the collision with the wall. The other collision we need is with the birds. Okay, so let's add in another collision event with object bird left. When we collide with the bird facing to the left, just a couple of things we want to do. We want to play a sound to show that we've had a collision. So in the main 1 tab, choose the sound, and it's going to be ow. Loop will be false. And when we hit that bird, we basically want to go back to the start of the game. So in the move tab, select this option here with the little X and the light bulb that says jump to start. And yes, it applies to itself, so click on OK. You can actually right click on that collision with the object bird left and duplicate that event, and make the same for a collision with bird right. Okay, it's just got the same code. Play the sound that you've been hurt and jump back to the start of the game. Alrighty, so that's looking pretty good. What else have we got to do now? The force field. Okay, this one's a little bit tricky. We haven't done anything like this in previous tutorials. So what we're going to do for the force field is add in an event, and it's going to be a collision with our object force field. When we run into that force field, the first thing we want to do is just destroy that force field so we can no longer grab it again. So just hit the little recycle bin there, and instead of destroying itself, we're going to choose object, and it's going to be the force field. Click OK. Next thing we're going to do is play a sound. So still in the main 1 tab, let's play a sound that we've collected the force field and got it turned on. Loop will be set to false. Once we've collected that force field, we want our object buoy to change into this guy, the object force field buoy. So the way we do that, still in main 1, we hit the little blue and the red ball here and change our buoy, which is itself, and we're going to change into the force field buoy. And perform events will be set to yes. Click OK on that. Final thing we're going to do is put a timer on this force field of about 5 seconds. Once that 5 seconds is up, the force field will disappear and it will just go back to the normal buoy that can be killed by birds. Alright, so the way we put a timer in is we go down to the main 2 tab and select the very first option at the top there, which is set alarm. Looks like a little clock. And it'll say number of steps in alarm 0, so we're going to give it 150 steps, which is roughly 5 seconds. And we'll click OK. So that's about all the code we're going to do on the object buoy now. What we're going to code up now is the force field buoy. Now they're very similar. You could duplicate the events if you wanted to, but I'll just do them very quickly now from scratch. So on the force field buoy, we still want him to move around like normal. We want him to be able to collect the gems and hit the finish line. We just don't want him to get killed by the birds. Okay, so we add in our keyboard events first of all. We've got the left key, we've got the right key, we've got the up key, and we've got the down key and no key events. Okay, so we'll quickly code them up. Don't forget you've got to check the grid first of all is 32 by 32, and you've got to tell it what way you want it to move. So because this is the no key event, we want to tell the guy to stop moving when we're pressing no keys at all. For the left keyboard, we want our force field buoy to move to the left, so we check the grid is 32 by 32 first of all, and then move him to the left at speed 4. Okay, another way you can quickly do this is highlight these two actions and right click to copy them, or just press Ctrl C. Go to the next action and event, which is the up key event, and just paste those same actions in. Then all you have to do is double click on this bunch of red arrows and change it to go up as we're pressing the up key. Click OK. For the right key, I'm just going to paste in those events again and double click on the red arrows. Make sure it's moving to the right, not the left. Speed 4. And the down key, I'll paste in those events again. This time we want our little guy to move down at speed 4. Okay, so that's our arrow keys, all good. We quickly need to put in the collision with the wall. Same sort of deal. Check the grid's 32 by 32 and tell him to stop moving. Okay, so speed 0 and that square in the middle. Alrighty, so one last one, collision with the exit sign. So if our force field buoy hits the exit sign, we've got a few things. We want to play the sound that he's hit the exit. Loop will be false. After he hits that, what else do we do? We need to Trying to think. Message, that's right. Display a message saying, congratulations, you win the game. Congratulations, you win. There we go, that's good enough. And then we can exit the game. Alright, so they're the three things we'll do when our little force field guy hits the exit sign. We're not going to add in collision events with the birds, as I said before. We don't want him to die when he gets hit by the birds and he's got his force field on, so we'll leave those out. The other event we need to add in though is an alarm event, and that's for alarm 0. So if we just go back to object boy for a moment, this is our original boy. We've got a collision with the force field here. What happens is we destroy the force field when we hit it, so we no longer see it. We play the sound of the force field starting up, and our object boy will change into our force field boy. And then that's going to last for about 5 seconds. Once that 5 seconds is up, we now need to tell GameMaker what we want to happen. So back on our force field boy now, in the alarm 0 event, what we're going to do is change this instance, or change itself. So the force field boy, we're going to change it back into the normal boy, so just object boy. And perform events must say yes. Alrighty, so when our alarm runs out after about 5 seconds, the force field boy will disappear and will change back into just the normal boy. Make sure that bottom box says yes. Click OK, and we'll click OK again. It's time to test our game out. So press the green play button at the top and we'll see if we have a working game. Fingers crossed. Alrighty, so our little guy moves around, no worries. Let's see if he can die. Yep, he sure can. So what I'm going to do is click the force field. And let's see if it lasts about 5 seconds and if I'm invincible. Okay, so I can get hit by the birds. That's no dramas. And you just saw quickly then that the little guy lost his force field and the bird got him again. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just go down and exit. I can win the game. We'll click OK. Alrighty, so it looks like our game's working fine. There's nothing else we need to do, so just save that up. When you want to actually create the game so you can take it home and play it and show your friends and family, just go to File and Create Application. Okay, and just save that application on a USB or somewhere in your account so you can email it home to yourself. Alrighty, so that is how you add force fields to players in your game.